Right, so I thought I'd make a little follow-up video talking about Apple's hardware. There's really been a shift that's been coming. Engadget did a really good editorial about it, and that's the demise of the optical drive. Um, Apple's first real shot at that was the MacBook Air. They um, removed the optical disk drive, because if you think about the optical disk drive, it's probably, other than the battery, one of the largest parts on a computer, and that's because a DVD is pretty big. So if you think about, if you've seen like a cutout or a cutaway of a notebook, the optical disk drive takes up a lot of space, and so with the MacBook Air, that was Apple's first real super slim factor notebook, and they decided very early on, I suppose, that this takes up so much space, we can devote that space to shrinking the laptop, but also that's when they started kind of incorporating their larger built-in batteries. So they decided it would make good sense for space. And then, when they released Lion, they also released these new Mac Minis, and it was kind of shocking when I looked at the pictures and I thought, those don't have DVD drives. And Apple's been pretty insistent against adopting Blu-ray. They haven't adopted Blu-ray in any of their lineup. And I think part of that's self-serving. They sell, high-def movies and TV shows for rent and for purchase. So it makes sense for them to, not include a Blu-ray player. I don't think for most people high-definition movies and TV shows through the iTunes store are going to replace Blu-rays. A lot of people, it's hard drive space. A lot of people don't have wireless in yet, so streaming a high-def video from their computer to their Apple TV, per se, takes a long time. It's not a very convenient thing, and if you're in a community that doesn't have, FiOS or Lightning from Time Warner or the super fast Comcast package, downloading a high-def movie is going to be a pain. There's also kind of this feeling in the internet community that we're going to be eventually go to a bandwidth cap, like you have on cell phones now. It used to be unlimited data, and now most of them are moving toward caps, and the same thing may happen for internet at home, so that could be a problem. But I can see why they would do that on a laptop. It makes sense as far as space. It doesn't make sense on a desktop. And I guess my problem with the Mac Mini is that they didn't, instead of the MacBook Air, when they took it out to slim it down, they didn't do that with the Mac Mini. They still offer the Mac Mini in a server configuration with dual hard drives, and I'm okay with that. It's great, but I would like to see a build-to-order option to have a DVD drive, and people say, well, just buy a super drive external. Well, that's, neither as elegant. It's not very Apple-like to have, what was considered an essential, input-output device, with a little dongle. That's not elegant, and it doesn't make sense, because most people that buy Mac Minis will buy them with one hard drive. So there's the space there for another hard drive or an optical drive, and Apple's just decided not to do it. And Engadget really, I think, slammed the Mac Mini for that in their review. So did This Is My Next, and I think appropriately, because especially if you're using that as a sort of HTPC, a home theater PC, not only does it not have a Blu-ray drive, which kind of essential for today's HD TVs, but it doesn't have a DVD drive. So you're completely locked in, and it just doesn't make sense. And there were reports earlier this week that Apple's going to do another slimmed down MacBook Pro, kind of like the MacBook Air, ditch the hard drive. And with a MacBook Pro, like a 15 or 17 inch, I see them devoting that extra space to slimming it down, making it a much thinner, mainstream notebook, and maybe using some of that space for battery. So I kind of feel like you can get away with it. Even on a 15-inch laptop, I would be okay, because I'd use my computer for school, so I'd like something lighter, with the 15-inch screen and the full-size keyboard and everything, full-size trackpad. I could be okay with that, but it doesn't make sense in a desktop, and especially when you're not using that space. But they were also, the Engadget editorial was laughing about probably the iMac is next, and I thought, well, that's crazy. But then I thought, why wouldn't they take it to the next step? They usually like to grab something and run with it, and I think Apple will do that. Also, some pretty cool renders coming out on the iPhone 5, namely it having a larger home button area, like kind of like the regular home button, but with gesture, like multi-touch space on either side, which would be cool. It looks like it'll be sloping, so they may be going back towards kind of the iPhone 1 form factor, where it was a little bit more rounded, which is what I like, but not like the iPod Touch rounded. That's bad. That's just putting buttons on, very tight angles that makes it practically unusable. But it seems like there's a consensus building for a 4-inch screen, and hopefully we'll see it. Apple did their first unlocked phone in the U.S., so hopefully we'll see it on T-Mobile. I'd like to see. I mean, can you imagine how great it would be to get a iPhone 4 with T-Mobile's 4G network, and AT&T will have their 4G HSPA Plus network available by then. So there's no reason. I see why they wouldn't do LTE or WiMAX, and that would be a battery concern. But bring us HSPA Plus. We're ready for 14 or 21 or even 42 megabits per second. We're ready for a faster iPhone, and preferably one that doesn't run on AT&T's network. So anyway, that's a little bit of Apple hardware news.